Welcome to Turtle Time Tale, where sleepy stories light up the night sky. If you enjoy gentle bedtime adventures, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe so you never miss a tale. Now, snuggle in and let the story begin. Nibs and the Lullaby Lanterns. High above the forest floor, nestled in the gentle arms of a massive maple tree, lived a small chattery squirrel named Nibs. Nibs wasn't just any squirrel. His fur shimmered with soft golden specks, like moonlight dust, and he had the biggest, brightest eyes in the whole forest. Nibs loved to talk. He talked to the leaves as they rustled, to the birds as they passed by, and even to the wind when it swirled around his treetop home. But there was something else that made Nibs very special. He could hear the bedtime wishes carried on the wind. Every evening, just before the stars twinkled into view, the wind would begin to hum. Soft, whispery melodies that swirled through the branches. And if you listened very closely, you might hear the tiniest voices. I wish for a gentle dream. I wish to feel safe. I wish for the moon to stay a while. Nibs would perk up his fuzzy ears, hold perfectly still, and collect the wishes in little glowing lanterns made of dew and light. These lanterns hung from every branch of his tree home, softly glowing like tiny moons, each one cradling a wish. Tonight, as the first fireflies flickered awake, Nibs sat on a branch with his leaf-bound notebook, waiting. He chirped, tapping a tiny pencil against his cheek. I bet there'll be some lovely wishes tonight. Maybe a dream about flying? Or one about a giggling moon? The wind rustled gently, and Nibs stilled. It was time. A soft breeze danced through the treetops. Nibs closed his eyes and listened. I wish I could fall asleep faster. I wish my stuffed bunny would sing me a lullaby. I wish I wasn't afraid of the dark. Nibs scribbled each one down, then carefully blew into a lantern hanging beside him. The lantern glowed warmer, brighter, the wish safely tucked inside. Suddenly, the wind shifted. A new whisper, much quieter than the others, floated by. I wish someone would hear me. Nibs blinked. That one felt different, he whispered to himself. He leaned further, hanging by his toes from the branch, trying to hear more. But the whisper had already faded into the night. I have to find out where that came from, he said. That wish wasn't just sleepy, it was lonely. And just like that, Nibs gathered his glowing lantern pouch, adjusted his leafy cape, and scampered across the branches toward the heart of the forest. High above the sleeping forest, Nibs scampered across glowing branches, his leafy cape fluttering behind him like a whisper in the night. In his paw, he clutched his glowing lantern pouch, warm and full of bedtime wishes. He had heard something different tonight, a wish not for a dream or a song or even for a cuddle. It was a quiet, almost trembling voice carried by the wind. I wish someone would hear me. Nibs couldn't let that go. No one should feel unheard, he whispered to himself, ears perked. I'm going to find that wish. He followed the breeze deeper into the forest, toward the older trees, where moss grew thick and moonlight barely touched the ground. The wind danced ahead like a trail of music, tugging gently at his fur and leading him forward. Soon, Nibs spotted something glowing among the roots of a twisted old tree. It wasn't one of his lanterns. It was something older. A tiny glass orb nestled in the moss, pulsing gently with a pale blue light. Nibs knelt beside it and touched it gently. The orb shimmered and a soft voice whispered, "Hello? Is anyone there?" "I hear you," Nibs said softly. "Who are you?" But the orb dimmed and the voice faded away. Just then, a low rustling stirred the leaves. Out from the shadows stepped an old creature, a badger with spectacles perched on his nose and a bundle of scrolls strapped to his back. "Ah," the badger said kindly, "you found one of the old lanterns." Nibs stood up quickly. "I didn't know there were other kinds." The badger chuckled. "Not many do. I'm the lantern keeper. I've watched over them for years. They collect deeper wishes, the kind that aren't just sleepy, but speak from the heart." Nibs's eyes widened. "Is that what I heard earlier? A deeper wish?" The lantern keeper nodded slowly. "It's rare, but yes, you heard one. And when a wish like that calls out, someone must answer." "I want to help," Nibs said without hesitation. The badger studied him for a moment, then smiled. "Then follow the trail. The lanterns will guide you. But remember, some wishes are tangled in silence. You must listen closely." Nibs bowed his head. "I will." The lantern keeper handed him a small compass carved from starlight and moss. "This will glow when you're near a true wish." And with that, the badger faded into the mist. Nibs held the compass in his paw. It pulsed gently, ready. He took a deep breath, adjusted his cape, and followed the faint glimmer ahead. Nibs padded quietly along a narrow branch, the forest dim and hushed beneath the canopy. The starlit compass in his paw pulsed with soft silver light, brighter with each careful step. He didn't know exactly where it was leading him, only that a wish was waiting. The wind no longer whispered, it held its breath, as if listening too. Around him, the trees changed. Their bark was thicker, their leaves darker. Moss carpeted the branches in soft green waves. Tiny mushrooms glowed faintly, dotting the path like breadcrumbs. "This must be the ancient part of the forest," Nibs murmured, his eyes wide with wonder. As he moved deeper, the lantern pouch at his side began to hum. Not loudly, but like a sleepy song. One of the lanterns inside flickered unexpectedly, as if stirred by something nearby. Nibs paused. "I think we're close," he whispered. Suddenly, he heard it. Not a voice, but a feeling. A weight in the air. A silence that wasn't empty. It was full. Full of something unspoken. He climbed down a twisty vine and reached a clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood a hollow log, old and gnarled. Something inside it shimmered faintly. Nibs tiptoed closer. There, nestled in the hollow, was a small creature curled into a ball. A tiny mouse, its fur damp with tears, clutching a worn-out ribbon. Nibs' heart squeezed. The mouse didn't move, but the compass in Nibs' paw glowed steady and warm. He didn't speak. Not at first. Instead, he sat down quietly beside the log. He opened his lantern pouch and gently placed one glowing lantern on the moss between them. It cast a soft light that didn't push, didn't pry, just glowed kindly. The mouse twitched its ears but didn't look up. After a long moment, Nibs said softly, "It's okay. I heard you." The mouse's whiskers trembled. A small voice replied, "I didn't think anyone would." "I didn't know what to say," Nibs admitted. "But I wanted you to know you weren't alone." The mouse peeked up at him, eyes round and sad. "It's not easy to sleep when your heart is heavy." Nibs nodded. "Some wishes aren't for dreams. They're for comfort." The mouse uncurled slowly, her ribbon trailing like a memory. "Will you stay for a while?" "I'll stay as long as you need," Nibs said with a gentle smile. The lantern between them brightened, soft and steady. And in that quiet clearing, beneath the branches that held stories older than time, two small creatures shared the silence, the sadness, and the first glimmer of comfort. The moon had climbed higher now, casting silvery light through the trees as Nibs and the mouse sat in gentle stillness. The forest around them had grown quieter, like it too was leaning in to listen. The mouse, whose name was Luma, hadn't spoken much, but she didn't need to. Nibs could feel the weight in her silence, like a soft storm waiting to pass. When Luma finally stood, her ribbon in her paw, she whispered, "There's something I want to show you." Nibs nodded and followed. They walked through ferns that glowed blue at the edges, across stepping stones slick with dew. The compass no longer pulsed. It had gone still, as if it knew this part of the journey didn't need direction. Eventually, they reached a tall, winding tree unlike any Nibs had ever seen. Its bark shimmered faintly as if woven from moonlight and memory. It had no leaves, but tiny glowing buds pulsed along its limbs. "This is the echo tree," Luma said softly. "It doesn't speak with words, it listens to feelings." Nibs blinked in wonder. Feelings? Luma stepped closer and placed her ribbon gently at the base of the tree. For a moment nothing happened. Then the buds along the tree lit up, glowing from the inside. A soft humming filled the air, sad, sweet and steady. It was the sound of something that had once been lost, being held again. "It remembers," Luma said. "It remembers what we can't always say." Nibs stepped closer, placing a paw on the bark. It was warm, almost like a heartbeat. He felt it, the loneliness, the worry, the hope flickering beneath it all. And the tree held it, gently without judgment. Luma sat beneath its glowing branches, eyes closed. "When I can't talk, I come here, and somehow I still feel heard." Nibs smiled softly and sat beside her. He didn't need to ask what had made her sad. The echo tree already knew. After a while, Nibs opened his pouch and lifted a lantern, one that had flickered uncertainly earlier. As he placed it near the tree, it glowed bright and clear, as if the tree had helped the wish inside make peace with itself. The lantern pulsed once, then floated gently upward, joining the soft lights that surrounded them. Luma looked up. "That was beautiful." "It was your wish," Nib said. "It just needed the right place to bloom." The sky above the forest had deepened into a velvet blue, with stars scattered like glitter across the canopy. Nibs and Luma walked side by side beneath the echo tree's fading glow, their path lit by soft firefly flickers and the faint hum of lanterns nestled in Nib's pouch. Luma was quiet again, but this time it felt different. Not heavy, but calm. She stayed close, her ribbon now tied around her wrist, like a gentle reminder that she was no longer alone. As they wandered through a grove of whispering willows, Nibs paused. One of the lanterns in his pouch had gone dim. It hadn't flickered, or pulsed, or shimmered. It simply sat there, still and silent. "That's strange," he murmured, holding it up. "This one won't glow." Luma peered at it, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Maybe the wish inside is hiding. "Can a wish do that?" Nibs asked. Luma nodded. "Some wishes are afraid to be seen, or maybe they've been forgotten." Nibs held the lantern closer to his heart. It felt cool in his paw, not cold, but quiet in a way that made him want to whisper. He closed his eyes and listened, just like the lantern keeper had taught him. At first, he heard nothing. Then, just a whisper, softer than wind. "I'm not special enough to shine." Nibs opened his eyes, heart aching. "It's a wish that thinks it doesn't matter," he said gently. Luma touched the lantern with one tiny paw. Maybe it just needs to be reminded. Nibs thought for a moment. Then he sat cross-legged in the moss and placed the lantern in front of them. He pulled out his notebook and flipped to a blank page. "I'm going to write down everything beautiful I've seen tonight," he said. "Not big things, just little, glowing things." He began to scribble. The way the fireflies sparkle when Luma smiles, the shimmer of the dew on the willow leaves, the hush of the wind when it's listening, the soft hum of a brave wish finding its voice. As he wrote, Luma added her own line. "The warmth of someone staying, even when you don't ask." They read the list together, and Nibs gently held the lantern again. "You belong on this list," he whispered. The lantern flickered. Just once, then again. Then it pulsed steadily, glowing brighter with each breath. "It heard us," Luma said softly. "It believed us," Nibs replied. They watched the lantern rise slowly into the air, glowing now like all the others. Maybe even a little brighter. "Even the quietest wishes deserve to shine," Luma said. Nibs smiled. "Especially those." The next morning arrived slowly, with the first golden light seeping through the forest canopy like a whispered promise. Nibs and Luma stretched sleepily beneath a blanket of moss, their lantern pouch resting nearby, still warm from the night before. The air was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was too quiet. No bird calls. No rustling leaves. Not even a breeze to stir the branches. This part of the forest feels still, Luma whispered. Nibs nodded. The compass in his paw was glowing faintly, but it pulsed unevenly, like a melody that had lost its rhythm. They followed the soft trail through the trees until they came upon a wide glade. It was beautiful, blanketed in soft flowers and surrounded by tall silver trees. But everything was unmoving. Even the petals looked frozen in place. Nibs paused and tilted his head. "No wind," he said softly. "No song." Luma looked concerned. "Do you think the wind got lost?" Before Nibs could answer, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A small spirit-like creature hovered above the flowers. It looked like a swirl of mist and music, but its light was dim, and its wings barely moved. Nibs approached slowly. "Are you the wind?" The little being shimmered. Its voice was barely audible, like a note held too long. "I used to be," it said, "but I lost my song." Luma stepped forward. "What happened?" "I carried too many heavy wishes," the spirit whispered. "Ones full of sadness, worry and fear. I wanted to help, but they slowed me down, until one day I stopped moving." Nibs felt his chest tighten. "You were trying to help everyone." The spirit nodded. "But I forgot how to let go." Nibs looked down at his lantern pouch. "Sometimes we carry so much for others that we forget to take care of our own light." Luma gently placed her ribbon in Nibs' paw and turned to the spirit. "Can we help you remember your song?" The spirit's light flickered. "Maybe, if you remind me what joy feels like." Nibs and Luma looked at each other and smiled. They began to hum softly, just a simple tune. Then they added small movements. Nibs swayed his tail. Luma spun in tiny circles. They laughed, even if it was just a little. The kind of laugh that shakes the dust off your heart. The wind spirit watched, then twitched. Its wings fluttered. Its light brightened. And slowly the breeze returned. The next morning arrived slowly, seeping through the forest canopy like a whispered promise. Nibs and Luma stirred from their blanket of moss, stretching gently as sunlight danced on the wooden floor. The lanterns on the shelves still shimmered with the magic of the night before, glowing faintly in the hush of the dawn. They shared a quiet look, no words needed. They had done something special. Not just lighting lanterns, but listening, caring, and gently carrying the dreams of the forest into the night. As a warm breeze drifted through the treetop windows, the lanterns swayed ever so slightly, like they were sighing with contentment. Luma smiled and whispered, "We did well." Nibs tucked his tail and curled into the moss once more, eyes heavy and heart full. And as the glow of the morning grew brighter, the forest drifted into peace once again. Until the next story.